Hello everyone, good evening. Thanks for joining. Today we're going to start up the session 2 on Weblogic server administration part. Yesterday we were talking about the basic requirements and we were first focusing on to discuss the prerequisites that we required and the history of Weblogic server and certain terminologies. That's what we were talking about. So reiterating once again, okay, before we go ahead with what we are supposed to do today. We were looking at the certification matrix as well yesterday, and we were looking out what versions that we're going to work with. So we're going to work with the Weblogic software. Okay, thanks, Sonal, confirming. So today we're going to focus on working on the installation part of the Weblogic software that I was talking about, the version 12.1.2. So we're going to work with generic version, which is supported with the 64-bit softwares, 64-bit binaries, and which is of 880 MB of size. So I already gave up the download links on this page where you can really go ahead and download. This is a website. I'm going to share up these running notes once the session is complete. So this is a link and you're supposed to download the Weblogic software with generic size of 880 MB. And alternative, we're going to see the JDK as well, which is really required for your installation as a prerequisite. So we're going to download, we're going to work with JDK 17072, which is compatible enough with your Weblogic software for Windows as well as on Linux. So we're going to work on both operating systems once again, and reiterating, we're going to work first on Windows. I'm going to show you on Windows, then we're going to perform on Linux. So more specifically, this is to make you to understand there shouldn't be any difference between Windows and your Linux, except the directory structures and the mount points that you would really see. In Windows, you might see C directory, D directory, directory specific, whereas in Linux, you might be mount point root specific that you would really look for. That's the only difference that you would really see. And you also, as a prerequisite, I was talking about, you need to have a sufficient amount of disk space and the user permissions that is really required when you work on this particular software. And more specifically, you can perform directly on your laptops. That doesn't make up any problem. There are, because this requires minimum requirements. Something like when required disk space, something around 1 to 2 GB of space is sufficient. Then user permissions appropriately, where you can really execute. Then you have the memory. That's nothing but the RAM. Approximately 512 MB of RAM will be utilized at any point of time by your installers, by your installation. So let's go ahead and do that activity right now. We're going to perform installations of Weblogic and JDK and Java more specifically. And before I do with this, I want to talk about certain issues that you might face, because we need to be really cautious when you work on this, and you need to really aware of what are the problems that you might face at any point of time. The first very much issue that you might see, as I already talking about the prerequisites, obviously the disk space will be your first problem before your disk space gets initiated. Because if your installer gets started, then only you might face a problem with the disk space. But before you initiate your installer, you need an appropriate user permission. So permission issues, you might face a problem with this. After that, RAM not sufficient. That's something like you might see something like problems related to out of memory. If you don't have sufficient amount of memory for your installer of your Weblogic. Then coming back, you have an appropriate permissions, you have RAM, then what is the possibility of working with it? Then you might have a problem with Java. Java not recognized. That would be the problem error. That would be the error statement that you might see. Java not recognized. This is the third possibility that you might face. I didn't start my installation yet. We're going to do that after this, talking up on these issues. So we just talk about 3 points. Once the Java is good, we have memory, you have permissions issues. Then talks about Weblogic. Binaries not recognized. If your software is not perfect when you download, and your binary software is not good because you're trying to download 880 MB. If that file gets corrupted, you never get your file installed. So you can't extract that. Then assume that all these are good. You have a permissions, you have a RAM, you have sufficient amount of memory, and you already have Java not recognized. So Java is good enough. Then you also have Weblogic binaries which are good as well. Then focus on the next pattern, something like the temp space. Temp space on your operating system. Where do you see your temp space on your Windows? Just use the string of temp. You'll see that directly. This is your temp space in your Windows. Okay. I'm just giving an example. On Windows, you might say this. On Unix flavors, you will be seeing /temp or /var temp. So these are the two directories you might look for temp space, availability of temp space at any point of time. Okay, so you need to have sufficient amount of temp space where your WebLogic will try to extract. Then the next problem that you might say is disk space while installing. So disk space error, that's the error statement that you might see. Okay, these are the 6 errors possibilities that you might see. If you all perfect, everything looks pretty good. But there are again couple of prerequisites again. Okay, I'll show you when you're installing Weblogic software going forward. So at this point of time, let's go forward and let's have a look into it, starting up the installation. How do you do? So first, as a prerequisites, I say for your Weblogic to execute it, you need a Java. First, let's go ahead and install Java. Java, that's nothing but your JDK installation. Why do we need a JDK? Your Weblogic software is purely built on Java. It's a Java compliant application server. For your Java code, your Weblogic binaries to be executed, you need a Java executor. That's nothing but a JVM. That's what I was talking about in our demo sessions, or I was talking about in the first session as well. So you might require a Java installation, and make sure that you have the latest at any point of time, because that's have the most bugs being fixed with the older versions, older patches as well. Okay. So the one that we're going to work today is I just downloaded some time back the Java version. Okay, I'll be using this for you on Windows. Similarly, I'm going to work on the Linux as well. I'm going to show you on both operating systems. So for Windows, I'm using this file. For Unix or Linux, I haven't done that. We'll do that. So let's go ahead and extract that. Okay, let's go ahead and directly download it. I've already downloaded, so we're going to install that. So where do you install that location? So you need to first identify your location and make sure that you have sufficient amount of disk space. I'm going to install that in my C directory. So I have a 12 GB of free space. So I'm good to install. Okay, so where do I install? Go to the C directory. I have a Java directory within it. I already have other JDK. We have a JDK 1705167. I'm going to install 72 right now. Okay, and the same directory structure. So this is my Java home. C Java is my Java home that we would really look for. Let me go ahead and install that. So just initiated. So change up your install path. By default, this will try to install in your program files. It's up to you where you want to install, but make sure that you have a specific locations to work with. Sorry. There should be C Java, JDK, and I'm going to write up this as my Java, whatever I'm installing is a 64-bit. You can see here over here. Just I want to differentiate that. That's the reason I'm using the term as x64 for myself to identify. Okay, so I'm going to install this in a 64-bit format. So these are locations where it's going to install. I'm good with it. Click on next. So make sure that you have your Java. Once you install the Java, you need to verify that. How do you verify it? Okay, files are getting copied. Let's hold for 2 minutes more. So you have multiple directories at any point of time. It doesn't matter how many directories that you have, but using an appropriate directory, home directory, is what you would really look for. Okay, once installation is complete, I'm going to show you that, because the same Java path, we are going to use that in our Weblogic. So that's the main point that you would really focus on. So my runtime environment, JRE, is getting executed. I'm okay with it. That doesn't matter. So JDK's Java Development Kit should help for your applications to get compiled at any point of time. So that's where we have. So in which location I have installed? On Windows, I have installed on C directory Java JDK 170_72_x64. That's the directory where I have installed my Java, and this will be treated as .7. This will be treated as Java home. Okay, so just focus on these homes that I'm going to talk about from now. Okay, so Java home is on this directory. Let's wait till this complete. So once that is complete, you open up a command prompt to validate whether Java is good or not. Okay, so we are perfect, successfully installed. Okay, close that. Go to that particular directory. This is where you have installed. This is your Java home of a particular specific version, and you have a bin directory within which you have a Java executables. You can see here Java. So let's go to this directory more specifically as an absolute path. Make sure you use absolute path at any point of time to validate Java-version. This is how you validate where your Java is perfect. It should get executed with a version command to get printed the statement of your output. So you can easily see that this is more specifically a 64-bit JVM, like a 64-bit Java version. Okay, and you also have, you can see here, you also have a runtime environment which is built in, which is part of it. Okay, so validate this thing. Your Java is good at this point of time. Let's come one by one. We're going to check with administrator permissions on this. Then we're going to have sufficient amount of RAM. Yes, I do have sufficient amount of RAM. You can validate that as well on Windows. I'm going to show you the same pattern on Linux as well. You see the performance. I have a memory of 8 gig, out of which only 2 gig is used at this point of time. So I have a sufficient amount of memory as well. Java not recognized. I just validated my Java is good enough at this point of time. So I'm trying to rule out all possible errors that I have faced. Then you have a Weblogic binaries not recognized. And we'll see that. The other one is temp space on your operating system. Yeah. How do you validate your temp spaces? Your temp space by default is part of your C directory, C drive. So C drive already have 11.9 GB of space. So that's nothing but temp can be used as well. Okay. So I have sufficient of temp space as well, and the disk space. I'm going to install on this one on E directory. So I already have E drive with 4.5 gig. Sufficient. That's sufficient for me at this point of time. So I'm just trying to rule out all the possible errors that I might face. I'm good with my disk space. I'm good with my temp space. I'm good with my Java home. Java recognized problems. RAM is sufficient. I have permissions issues. There is no permissions issues at this point of time. How do you validate? Open up a command prompt on your admin mode. Then you right click on your start button menu. You see the command prompt with admin. Make sure that you are running with administrator privileges at this point of time. That's nothing but you have permissions to work on Windows. I'm going to show you that on Linux as well. Okay. So this is where you can see you can validate the same pattern as well. Okay, you can validate your Java version over here to make sure your Java is good enough with that permission specification. Java should be executable with your admin permissions as well. That's what I mean to say. They're good enough. You can see here that Java is getting executed. Now let's validate. The only one point that we have left is your WebLogic binaries, whether it is recognized or not. Okay. For that purpose, let's go ahead and initiate your WebLogic installation. So WebLogic installation, starting with WebLogic software. The command that helps you to perform this installation is nothing but go to your Java home bin directory. Put down the absolute path Java -jar your WebLogic software, wherever you have your WebLogic software. So I have my WebLogic software over here. You can see that WebLS 12.1200.jar. This is of 880 MB approximately. So I'll use the absolute path for this installation. So this is a command which you can use it. So let me put down this on a notepad, what I'm trying to do. Let me explain you on that. Syntax. Here is an example. Syntax is nothing but your Java home /bin/Java -jar your WLS.jar. So this is a command, this is a syntax that you need to perform to execute your installer. Again, it's Windows, it's pretty much the same pattern. You don't need to really execute in a command line way. It's up to you how do you want. You can even double click on it. That will even start it because you have the GUI installer capability to start that. But I recommend you to perform in this way because you are executing through administrator command prompt, so you don't face any problem with your permissions. Okay. So at this point of time, I'm initiating the command to start my WebLogic installation. If the WebLogic is corrupted, your WebLogic binaries is corrupted, your installer will fail, saying that your installation is not perfect, your WebLogic software is not perfect. If everything is fine, we're good over there. That's how you need to validate. But more significantly, I'm just reinitiating this. You have a Java executable binaries path /java/jar is the command that you need to perform to extract the jar file. The WebLogic binaries is in the format of .jar. That's the reason I'm using this command where you can extract that. Okay. So let me initiate that right now. I'm click on enter. So your data is started extracting. In the sense, you can look for the space. It's 11.6 now. It will keep on decreasing. Well, now it's 11.5. 11.4. So your temp space is being utilized. Right now you can see that this is getting decreased. The available space on the C directories keep on coming down. You can see now it's 11.2. Free space 11.1. The amount of space is being utilized in your temp space right now because this is getting extracted. You can see here it's 11 GB right now. So approximately 500 MB is being utilized at this point of time. Okay, I'm sorry, there is a chat. You're getting my voice really low. Okay, Harry. What about others? I hope my voice is clear. Harry, can you increase your speaker volume? Because this is our regular forum that we don't face these problems. Okay, what about others? Mridula, Sonal, is my voice is clear? Or when you face a problem?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, others looks perfect. No problem is from your side. So please make sure you increase your speakers from other aspects as well. So at this point of time, I was showing you the space, the free space that I'm talking about. Earlier it was 11.6 gig. Now you have 11 gig. Let me refresh that again. So we are stagnant at 11 gig at this point of time. Okay, so around 500 MB of space has been utilized. So that's how you need to put down your data that you can really look like. So the temp space utilization approximately 500 MB or 600 MB. Take it as 600 MB granted, because we are able to see that. Okay, so then once your installer, the extraction is complete, your installer has launched your Oracle Universal Installer. Okay, this is an OUI which gets installed for all Oracle products. When this is getting launched, you will have a screen of your welcome page of your Oracle Fusion Middleware Weblogic server. This is a welcome screen that you would really look for when you work with any of the Oracle products. Okay, when you work with any Oracle products, your Oracle Universal Installer will help you to initiate the welcome page for that particular product. So right now we are working with Fusion Middleware WebLogic Server. That's the reason you see this WebLogic Server screen. You can see here Oracle WebLogic Server 2LC, WebLogic Server, and Coherence installers welcome screen, because the software is of related that. And before I go forward, there are certain installers, certain condition checks that you can see. When you start your Oracle Universal Installer, there is a certain patterns of 4 where this is taken into consideration. Let me copy this and put down in my notepad. So your Oracle Universal Installer checks below patterns. What those patterns are. The first one is the CPU should be of above 300 megahertz. This is what I have, which is passed. And my monitor display as well, 256 colors, and I have more than that. Checking the swap space, which should be more than 512 MB. This is passed as well. And it's also checking whether your JDK is 64-bit JVM or not. This is also passed. If none of thing is failed, if anyone is failed, your installer will stop installing. It will fail back to the, it will come out of the installation. So make sure that you all check, you all meet these conditions at any point of time. These are the conditions being checked by your Oracle Universal Installer, OUI, and you'll get a welcome screen. Don't worry, I have all these slides. I'm going to share you these slides. Please just concentrate on what I'm doing right now. So you have a welcome screen which talks about what this product is and stuff. Okay, click on next. Click on next after the welcome screen, and it is expecting an Oracle Home to be installed. So let me put down now. What do you have? Oracle Home is expected. You are supposed to give Oracle Home directory. Okay. I'll use E directory. Feb and March. I'm using Oracle Home under this directory, under E directory. So make sure that you have sufficient amount of space on that directory. So I'm using E as an E drive to install, and I have 4.5 gig of space on that. So I'm using this directory structure. Ideally, this directory structure doesn't exist. Okay, let me check that whether the directory exists or not. So the directory is unavailable. Let me go ahead and install there. So this will be my path of my Oracle home. Let me put down on my notepad as well. This is my Oracle home. I'm okay with it because it's empty at this point of time. So we are good with it. Click on next. So in the next screen, it's talking about whether you want to go with Weblogic installation or Coherence installation or both. Okay, so this is what it talks about. Why do we have, you might ask the question, why do we have Coherence in Weblogic? Again, Coherence is one of the product as part of Visual Middleware which will work in front of Weblogic server. That's the reason they have binded with these Coherence product with Weblogic server. It's up to you whether you want to use or not until unless you are aware of what exactly the Coherence is. It's again a different product which will run in front of Weblogic server. So we are going to focus only Weblogic server in our topics. So I'm just choosing Weblogic server installation at the point of time. Click on next. So during this, there is a prerequisites check being done. Checking of your operating system, certification and stuff. There is the alert. Let's check. There is nothing to, there's nothing stopping you on this. But let's check what is this. So this says that your expected results is one of this, 6.0, 6.1, 6.2 of your WebLogics. But actually you have got 6.3, which is the Oracle software is not certified on this current operating system. So WebLogic on Windows 8 is not certified yet, but in next releases, yes, that will be certified because Windows 8 is a standard release from Microsoft again. Okay. So at this point of time, when this release was released, the certification was not released for WebLogic 8, but still we have an option to skip this. Skip off your check of your prerequisites. Then it is asking for you to enable or inform for any security issues if you would really like to. So if you have your Oracle support, my Oracle support email ID, then only you're supposed to register to it. Else you need to disable it. Who will give you this my Oracle support email ID and passwords? Which way you need to register it, and your support ID of your organization need to be enabled for your email ID, whatever you register. Okay. So I'm disabling it, security updates for this. You want to remain uninformed? Yes, because I don't have my Oracle support ID. That's the reason I'm coming out of it. So disabling security updates, you can enable it if you have your user ID and password of your Oracle support IDs. But at this point of time, yes, we are looking for the installation summary, which talks about Oracle Fusion Middleware 12c, WebLogic Server and Coherence. Your installation home, this is where you have your Oracle home. Your log file of your installation. Disk space required is 570 MB for your installation, not for temp space. So around 570 MB is required. So let me add that point to our prerequisites conditions. So disk space while installing, you need approximately 570 MB. That's what it will show you over here. But available space is more than that, so we are good with it. So these are the features that are getting installed. Oracle feature sets to install. All these are the product specific files that are getting installed. So you have an option called save response file, and I'm going to talk about this in next session. At this point of time, just save this on your desktop with the file called Oracle WLS fedmarch.txt. Okay, I'm putting this in this file name, so we're going to use this tomorrow. I'm going to save this file. What exactly do you have in this file? Whatever you have the summary, that's the content you have in this file, that's it. Okay, so at this point of time, I have saved this response file. Click on install. So installer start preparing it, copying all your files, generating libraries, performing substitution strings, and next. So you also have two options where you can look for logging or look for the message alerts that you can look for. So if you click on view messages, you will see what exactly it's doing. Right now it's starting, it's starting file copy. If you want to look for specific logs, yes, you can click on view log. This will help you to notify what exactly that's getting printed. Home setup JRE files, so it's setting up your Java. And you can see the status over on the other levels. At this point of time, it's in 0, 1. So it will keep on working in extracting those files. Let that take time. So again, this will be the same feature on Linux as well. Okay, we're going to see that as well. Probably not today or tomorrow. So we're supposed to identify two patterns right now. Yes, your Oracle Home, which you already know that. And we also have two more terminologies that we're going to talk about. Yes, Oracle Home, then it will come as an middleware home. Then I'm going to talk about here Weblogic home. So these are the three terms again I'm going to talk about right now. So let the installation complete. At this point of time, we are copying the files as well still. Okay. So this might take a couple of minutes to complete. So coming back to this the running notes I'm talking about. Right now the one installation that you are doing is GUI. This is a graphical user interface mode, isn't it? So there is one more mode called silent mode. We're going to see that as well. So installers, installations, WLS installation types. One is GUI mode, the other one is silent mode. You also have, you used to have console mode. This is deprecated from WLS 12.1.2 onwards. So this mode exists till 12.1.1 onwards, until that version 12.1.1. But from this version, this has been deprecated. So there is no mode exist from this version. So you only have two modes, GUI and silent mode of installation. So let's see the status. It's on 66%. Our files copy is complete now with generating libraries. So libraries are of extension.jar. You can see that jar files over here. Those are getting extracted. So this might take a couple of minutes more. We are on 66%. So focus on working on installation of two types. One is in GUI, one is in silent. Right now we're working on GUI mode of installation. We're going to see the silent mode of installation tomorrow. When we use silent mode, console mode, and graphical mode. Silent mode, there is no more silent mode from this version 12.2.2 onwards. So you only have two versions, graphical mode and silent mode of installations. Okay, when do you use them? So organizations maintains, due to security levels, you might not have graphical in every organization. Okay, you know more specifically when you work with Unix flavors like Solaris or Linux or any flavors of Unix flavors, you might work with only PuTTY sessions, not with a graphical mode of tools that you might not have. Then at that point of time, if there is no graphical mode, then you only work with silent mode of installation. But if you have this option of graphical mode, yes, you can perform that at any point of time. So at this point of time in Windows, Windows will have graphical mode. That's the reason you are working on graphical mode of installation. But for all Unix flavors, you might not have every time in your organizations. If you don't have graphical mode supported software environments, then you need to work with silent mode. So it's better, you should know both the modes when you install Weblogic software. So it's still in 66%. This is taking up time in generating the libraries. Generally, libraries are getting packaged at this point of time. So this might take a couple of more minutes. Okay, you can see all your jar files are getting extracted. Weblogic security 700.jar, security API 7.jar. All your jar files are getting extracted right now. You can see Weblogic socket API.jar, Weblogic message catalog.jar, Weblogic encryption.jar, Java transactions.jar, ASM.jar. So those are all the libraries of your Weblogic server, which helps your Weblogic to work with. So at this point of time, my memory during installation has reached 3.3. So earlier it was something around 2.8. Now it is 3.6. Something around 400 to 500 MB of memory of RAM is being utilized during installation. That's what I was talking about earlier. And the utilization of CPU is around 35% with that process. So let's wait for 2 more minutes. That should get complete. So other jars are getting extracted. Now you can see your servlets.jar, RPC, remote processing. Then you have Weblogic clients.jar, transactions.jar. All these are libraries that are getting extracted, which are getting generated ideally. So let's go to that directory and have a look into it, what exactly. So this is the directory which we have created. Now this exists. You can see this directory got created some time back, almost 6 to 8 minutes back. We have this directory got created. Oracle FM, middleware, Oracle Home. You can see all these directories getting extracted right now, getting created. You can see that all are of same timestamp, approximately 2 to 3 minutes difference. So that still it's in 66%. So generating of libraries will take some time. So that's what it takes. This can take several minutes. Again, that purely depends on your system performance again. Okay, you have a heavier processing cores of your laptops, then that will be really faster more than that. Okay, let's wait for 2 more minutes again. What are the messages that you're seeing right now? It's copying all these files. So right now it's creating libraries for client specific, WLS client. Now it's creating WLS API, WLS third party jars. serverless API jar is getting like created. Let me see my GPU utilization. That went to 43% right now. Okay, the memory is increased now. Earlier it was 3.3, now it is 3.4. Is being utilized. In fact, it's not only Weblogic. You have, it's complete overall system specific that I'm talking. If you want to know that specific, that particular PID which is taking up time, then you can look something like this is your process, which is taking up 580 MB of memory right now, which is running for your Weblogic installation. And you can see it's around 22 MB or 23% of CPU is being utilized right now. Okay, so library generating is complete. Now you can see here performing string substitution, it's at 97% right now. Saving the inventory. So it's installing all your scripts that are required. So it's we're on 100% right now. That's complete. So execution of your post installation script is complete. So that's nothing but your installation successful. Click on next. So here is a whole software that has been installed where your Oracle Home and your respective features been installed. So finish that. Before you finish, you disable this automatic launch of the configuration wizard. This is a separate topic I'm going to talk. I don't want you to initiate this right away. At this point of time, your Oracle Weblogic server installation is complete successfully. Click on finish. And this is where your location, where you have installed Oracle FM, middleware, Oracle Home. This is the software directories that you have been installed with. And we're going to see this tomorrow because we are supposed to install silent mode of installation. And you should make sure that there is no difference. There is no difference between silent mode of installation and console GUI mode of installation. Okay. So at this point of time, this is what we have, and so we're going to complete with the installation. So let me talk about middleware home, what exactly the home is, whatever the directories that we have. This is termed as your middleware home, where you might have other products coming to the picture as well if needed. Then you have your Weblogic home. Inside Oracle Home, you have a WL server. This will be your Weblogic home. Okay. So these are the terminologies that we really focus on from tomorrow. Oracle Home, middleware home, Weblogic home. And we're going to see the internals of the directory structures as well. Then we'll understand what I'm talking about. So at this point of time till today, we're done with for the session today. Okay, we have seen the installation on GUI mode on Windows. Tomorrow we are going to work on silent mode of installation as well as on Linux as well. Okay. So any questions on today's session?